You're watching the Sporting Time Show with host Doug Thompson. Sponsored by Jewelry Barn and Pawn Shop.
Welcome into the Sporting Time Show. I am Doug Thompson, your host, and thank you very much for tuning in tonight. We are in a brand new studio here at WNKY. It is absolutely beautiful. This is my first time in studio. I am super excited. Of course, the mask. Of course, we are going to make sure that we do all the COVID safety measures as we can. But we are super excited. The WNKY 40 team here has done a fantastic job in getting this studio up and going, and excited to be here. Also, very excited to introduce my first guest. We have tried to get him on the show for the last 3 weeks. Tom Alexander. He is the head coach of the South Warren Spartan soccer team, boys soccer team. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
It is great to have you here. Of course, Alex Ortiz will join me in the next segment. But, you know, as I was going through some of the stats and some of the history, you started South Warren soccer back in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about what made you take that position, and what were the first couple of years like as the head coach?
Well, I was just graduating from Western and had my social studies degree, and I got very fortunate that Mr. Cook hired me at South Warren High School. Our first couple of years were rough. I mean, a lot of people don't really remember that, but I mean, it was rough. We didn't have a whole lot of seniors. I think our first year we only had one senior, and then the second year I think we only had like 7. And we had just a lot of people that were like athletes that weren't really soccer players that just kind of helped us out and get through there. So when we first started, we really focused on our middle school team, and we built our middle school team up. And that by the time that they were, sophomores and juniors, that we had a few freshmen that were on varsity the first year, that they were ready to go. And you know, we talked about it would be like a 4 to 5 year plan. I think we finally made it to the region tournament in year 3, and so we were a little ahead of our plan there.
Well, it wasn't too rough, because out of the 11 seasons for you as the head coach, you've been in the 4th Region Championship 7 times. You've won the 4th Region Championship 3 times, and there was only one season, Coach, that you had a losing season, and that was, I believe, in season 2.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've had an amazing run so far. And I started to look at kind of the teams that, you know, you have battled. Of course, Warren Central this year, you split in the regular season, but you come out in the 4th Region Championship, and you really take care of business. What adjustments did you make in that championship?
Well, in the district championship when they beat us, we got scored on the first 15 seconds. So it's not ideal for that to ever happen. So we just made sure that we were a lot cleaner from the start to not make those errors in the beginning. And then we felt like when we play them, that Central does a really good job of trying to set the tempo of the game against us. And we wanted to make sure that we came out and set the tempo of that game. And I mean, we came out really, really fast. And we kind of had them on the back foot for a little bit. And then after we got a couple goals in there, then we just kept going.
Well, this year you made it all the way to the state championship game. You lose to St. X 1-0. But there has always been one team that has kind of stood in your way to getting beyond the quarterfinals, and that was Davis County.
Yeah.
You got them this year. What was it about this season that got you over the hump and through Davis County?
Well, I mean, Davis County is a great team, and they have a really good coach. He's been there for a long time. Doug Sandifer is fantastic, and their teams are always really well prepared, and they're always really, really fast. So they, our guys have seen them. They knocked us out in 2018, so they knew what to expect. And you know, we just made sure that we were going to come out, and once we got the first goal, it kind of made them step out farther than they wanted to, and then we were able to counter to get the last 2. But they're a great team, so it was very nice to get through that.
We just have a few more seconds, Coach. What was it like to be in the state championship game for the KHSSA? What was that like going out on the field and competing at that level?
It was great. The memories will be something that we'll take with us for a lifetime, and I'm just so excited that the boys were able to experience it and were able to have that opportunity to play. You know, it's a little heartbreaking for us now. You know, we hit the post twice. We had one cleared off the line.
Oh.
So it's just a little heartbreaking now, but the journey was great, and like I'll never forget it. And I'm extremely excited the boys got to have that experience.
Well, Coach, congratulations on a great career. Thank you for being our guest today. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, the defenseman for the South Warren Spartans, Alex Ortiz, joins us right here on the Sporting Time Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. Joining me now is a senior defender. He was a major part in the success of the 2020 South Warren Spartan boys soccer team, Alex Ortiz. Alex, welcome again to the show.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
I just saw you, I don't know, a month and a half ago or so. It's
Yes,
great
sir.
to have you back on. You know, I was going through some of your stats, and of course, a defender, you know, you go by maybe goals scored in a game or
Yes,
in
sir.
a season. You guys only allowed 10
Yes, sir, we
in
did.
19 games. Just kind of talk about what made your defense group so tough this year.
I think just because we were all just kind of like, we were all one unit together. And then it also had to do a part with Tayshawn Jones, our goalkeeper. He made some really big saves when we messed up. So he was also a big part in why we only had 10 goals.
So how important is speed and position on the field and kind of knowing your opponent and what their midfielders or what their strikers can do?
Yeah, I think speed's a big part of it because, you know, they have a lot of fast forwards, and just keeping your position, knowing your position, what you need to do whenever they do stuff. So I think you just have to just know, and it's a really big part.
I was talking to Coach in the last segment about, you know, Warren Central. As, you know, you guys had kind of split during the season, and then you come out in the 4th Region Championship and you get that big win.
Yeah.
What do you do as a player going into a do-or-die type of game? Do you look at film? Do you do it on a chalkboard? Or how do you kind of go through the process to defend in a championship game?
I think mostly in practice. So since we played them a couple times before the region championship, we kind of knew how they were going to play and how they attacked us. So we kind of just talked about it in practice and kind of just like figured out our way how to stop them.
So Alex, I looked at, you have been an integral part of the Spartan team since the freshman year. You played 13 games your freshman year, 22 games your sophomore year, 25 your junior, and then of course all the games this season. How has it been for you looking back as far as your growth and really being a part as a freshman?
Yeah, it's been a really fun, crazy journey, but I think just all through the years I get a little bit more progression and just develop a little bit more so I can contribute to the team a little better every year.
So you have played Davis County a number of times, and sometimes you were on the short end of those matches. This year you were not. Kind of talk about what it was like going into that game and what your mindset was, knowing that you had to get through a team that you hadn't beaten the last few times you played them.
So my sophomore year, actually, we played them in the first round of state, and they beat us. And the people that were on that team, we all knew, including myself, that we had to come out and beat them this time. We couldn't let them end our season this year like they did 2 years ago. And so we just knew we came out with the right mindset and just came out and beat them.
What was it like when you won your semifinals match and you knew for the first time in school history that you guys were going to be in the finals of a state soccer championship? What was that like?
That was just crazy. There's pictures of us all cheering, smiling, yelling, and I'll just never forget that. It was just really crazy and fun, and it was good to know that you're part of history now.
Talk about that for a second, because one thing that you can do that a lot of soccer players cannot is relate to playing at a very high level as a freshman. The underclassmen on your team this year, did you have an opportunity to work with them or to talk to them and kind of explain to them, this is what you get if you work hard?
Yeah, so actually my other center back with me is David Brown, and he's a sophomore. So I kind of just talked to him a little bit about just staying calm, especially in the big games, big moments, and especially so we went to PKs in that semifinal game, and we had a freshman go up, and I just kind of tried to calm down a little bit before he went up and took his PK.
So now that you've had a little time to reflect, how thankful are you the fact that you were able to play your senior year and get this season in under COVID and all that's going on?
Yeah, I just feel really blessed to be able to have a season, hopefully the other sports that are coming up can get their own season, but it's just really special to be able to that we got our season going. So I'm pretty thankful to have.
Well, I'll tell you what, Alex, congratulations on a great season at South Warren and a great career as a Spartan.
Thank
Good
you.
luck in the future, and thanks again for coming back again.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, more of the Sporting Time Show on WNKY 40. We'll be right back.
You're watching the Sporting Time Show on WNKY 40.
Welcome back to the show. I want to thank Coach Tom Alexander and Alex Ortiz from the South Warren boys soccer team for being my guest today. It has been a tough year for COVID for all sports, but KHSA has done a great job in pushing fall sports forward. Morgan Regal, WNKY's reporter, sat down with Julian Tackett to get more clarification on what's to come.
Joining me this morning is Julian Tackett. He is the commissioner of Kentucky High School Athletic Association. Julian, we talked back in the, the summer now, before football season started. How are you doing this morning?
Doing okay, thank you. We got a couple championships this weekend and quite a few more football games played, so it's pretty interesting times.
Absolutely, and you kind of touched on it right there. Football in full swing. Like I said, we talked about this way back in the summer, and so much has changed since then. At that time, we were talking about whether football was going to even be played or not. Right now, obviously, football is being played. One thing I want to ask you in specific is we had 45 games last weekend around the state that were canceled for COVID, a variety of COVID-related reasons. Can you kind of talk to me about that? Explain why they were canceled, and if we expect to see more of those going forward?
Well, I want to make sure one thing is clear to everybody. There is still zero documentation of a case of COVID transmission between players, and that is good because we were apprehensive about that in the summer. What we have seen lately, we put out a recommendation. It's only a recommendation to our schools that games played in counties that are declared red by the state, and that's a really low threshold. It's 25 cases per 100,000 people. That is a very tough bar. You could call it a high bar or a low threshold. But when they get red, we recommend they not play in that county. As such, we've had, lately, the state has had a lot of counties in the red. And so quite a few of our school systems have gone by that recommendation. They have canceled their games. We put procedures in place before the season and even during the season to help with games that didn't get played, and standings and all of that stuff. So they're able to make a health decision. It's different. People have to understand the White House metric is 100 cases per 100,000 people. Our metric is only 25. So our Department for Public Health is very, very aggressive, and we're glad they are, with trying to prevent the spread. But that's been the predominant reason, has been the red county status. We've had a few that we've had quarantines among teams. We have had a player who was exposed to somebody outside the team, and they're awaiting test results, or they're awaiting this, and the local health departments have said that in large part that just means the entire team needs to quarantine for 2 weeks, and that has happened quite a bit this fall too. So there have been more games, and I think the other thing is we've got a little bit of natural conservatism going on with our schools, in that they're going to go ahead and maybe not play this week or not play last week as they start getting ready for the playoffs, to make sure they don't have a quarantine situation that comes up in postseason.
And I want to move forward to basketball now, and winter sports in general. What are we looking at? Obviously, with football, you're outside. You can spread more people out. The ventilation is obviously better outside. basketball and other winter sports are indoor predominantly. So what are you going to do capacity-wise and to keep the players safe as well?
Well, I mean, obviously there's a risk to playing. I mean, there's a risk to officiating, there's a risk to coaching, there's a risk in any of this, but we can't stay in our homes for the next 6 months to a year. So we've tried to work out all the mitigation strategies possible. Recently, we received a request from the Department for Public Health in Kentucky to limit attendance to 15% of a building's capacity. And that's going to be quite a restriction. We have advised our schools to be sure if they can make an accommodation to at least allow the parents to attend a game within that restriction. We know that there are some facilities that are extremely small in our state, and those are the ones probably that the Department for Public Health would worry the most about. They have the least space, et cetera. You mentioned it perfectly. We've got some 10,000 seat football stadiums. You can spread out in a big football stadium. You can't do that when your gym seats 200 people. It'll also it's going to naturally limit the ability for the virus to spread, hopefully, among people in the swimming and wrestling area as well. They'll have that same 15% restriction. All of those restrictions include the competitors. So we're glad that early on we put out guidance to our swimming teams and our wrestling teams that at least the first few weeks of the season, we're going to have very small competitions so that a few people can come. But this 15% will be across the board.
Julian, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning. Like I said back in July, we're all hoping for a successful season. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate you helping get the word out. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, we'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
All right, thank you, Morgan. That was a great interview with the Commissioner, Julian Tackett. And as we speak tonight, there have been major changes going on into the winter sports with a potential basketball start for high school sports of January 4th. Those things are still being worked through as the time of our taping, but hopefully we will have the winter sports as we move forward. Of course, back in March and April, we weren't exactly sure what was going to happen with high school sports for this fall. But KHSA did a great job in committing to the student athlete to get a season underway. The student athlete and coaches also made a great commitment in making sure they did the right thing so that they could have a season. I've always said a picture is worth 1,000 words. Let's take a look back at this fall season and some of the student athletes that made it happen. Great photos and great memories for the fall season. Hopefully we will have many more for the winter season ahead. Thanksgiving is next week, and everyone at WNKY and the Sporting Times wish you and your family a happy Thanksgiving.